Mm. Oh, business of comments. Choom. All right. Guess that's it. What does this do? I don't know if this works. I didn't upgrade, obviously, because I got a duck. But Mhm. I don't know, but I don't have time. All right, so I've been meaning to read this book for a long time. I've read it on and off. I've read it somewhat all the way through years ago. It was published in 1998. So, first in 1998, I got it newish. I think it might have been a gift to me because I've been drawing comics for a long time. For myself, not like professionally, like not like a big deal. I just do it because I have a problem. I have a drawing problem. So, yeah, I've been meaning to do this for a while, and I think other people enjoy it or would enjoy it, maybe. So, I'm gonna go ahead and read for my own benefit, and if you're here, welcome. I hope you enjoy it too. Okay. I'm gonna read the introduction from The Business of Comics by Lorene Haynes. Again, published in 1998, so a long time ago. A lot of the stuff might be outdated, but we'll see. I've always wanted to draw comics. So just how do I don't know. So just how did you get into comics? I've got this comic that some friends and I drew in school. Do you think you might like to publish it? You know, I can draw as well as fill in big name characters. So how come nobody will hire me? Gee, how do I get into comics? The list of pleas, bizarre queries, and strange comments go on and on. Any professional in the strange business we call the comic book industry can give you a list as long as their arm of the thoughtless, thoughtful, and thought-provoking remarks made by aspiring comic professionals. Basically, this all boils down to one thing. They haven't taken the time to truly investigate what is involved in getting into the business of comics, and they just don't know where to start. What is the business of comics? The comic book industry has been an active part of our culture for more than 50 years. Although in the past, the comic book was primarily a form of entertainment for kids, it has since evolved into a more diverse form of entertainment, appealing to young and old alike, and has generally a highly successful collector's market. All that aside, what the comic book represents for many in our culture is an alternative form of expression and creativity. That means out there somewhere, the potential artists, writers, or editors are just itching to try their hand at generating their own unique interpretation of a comic book. They want to break into the business. Getting into the business. This book is not intended to tell you how to develop the talent you need to get work. Art schools, writing courses, and business colleges can do that much more effectively than my limited experience, space, or funds. Instead, I'll offer suggestions and methods for improving your abilities. I will assume that you feel you have reached a skill level adequate to pursue comic book work. I'll propose ways you can find out where you stand ability-wise, and hopefully provide some useful advice on how to deal with critiques and professional feedback. Ultimately, however, we will deal with the business of getting work. I hope to shed some light on the variety of areas crucial for doing business in the comic industry, or in many cases, any industry or business. Much of what I'll discuss will be basic common sense information. You may find yourself thinking, hey, everybody knows that. But trust me, they don't. In the short time I've been a comic professional, I've worked very hard and tried to stay on top of all the latest business and professional information. I attend dozens of conventions and make numerous appearances each year, and every one without fail, some eager, though often timid, aspiring professional will come up and ask me what appears to be the silliest question with the most obvious answer. But if I've learned nothing else, I've learned to respect the courage it took to ask a question that might seem dumb to everyone else. I'll always answer them as honestly and fully as I can, and with good humor. That's what I hope to do here. I'll try to break down the different aspects of getting into this crazy business and the various routes and methods you can utilize to make sure you have the greatest chance of securing your dream career. In different parts of this book they have, this is me talking, not reading. In parts of this book they have quotes from people. They also have snippets of interviews with artists. And this is a quote from Bruce Bristow, former Vice President of Sales and Marketing, DC Comics. Try to work in a retail store. At least learn to understand what is involved in the business. Frankly, it doesn't have to be a comic book store, because what a small store owner or a chain store manager does, the problem they have, the things they have to deal with, are essentially the same for any product category. Different scales, different priorities, but they all have to deal with the reality of running a business that serves customers. The better people understand that and the broader their outlook, rather than focusing on just the business of comics, the better they'll understand it's a matter of satisfying lots of customers who want lots of different kinds of things. When they understand that this is an entertainment business, the happier and more successful they'll be. Again, that's from Bruce Bristow, former Vice President of Sales and Marketing in DC Comics. Next section. Becoming a professional. There are a number of useful methods for understanding and learning how to navigate the tricky waters of the comic industry. You should utilize as many as you can. Enthusiasm is indispensable. If you truly love what you do, then you'll produce work that you're happy with. Sometimes work that will inspire you even further. That enthusiasm can be contagious too. Other professionals like to deal with someone who clearly enjoys his work. Nothing will put you off a business deal faster than someone who can't share your enthusiasm or excitement for a project. I will turn this off. Can you hear it? Nothing will put you off a deal faster than someone who can't share your enthusiasm or excitement for a project. But remember to keep it under control. Hyper-excitement is just as much a put-off as total lethargy. You should also bring your own personal work experience to bear on the comic industry. Being a comic professional isn't the first job I've had, and I've found that many business techniques and methods I've used in other jobs have great applications here. Don't be afraid to ask questions. People will respect you for wanting to do a good job. But remember, if you can look up the answer, do it. There's nothing that will shake confidence in you faster than the appearance of a professional who seems perpetually confused. Probably the most important method for improving your chances of getting work and becoming a true professional is your ability to listen. I mean, really listen. Page turn. Every time a business professional gives me advice, I pay attention. Often they haven't imparted any startling new insight, but they almost always give me a whole new perspective on that information. Which makes a big difference when I'm approaching a business problem the next time around. Hopefully this book will provide you with a whole new perspective as well as a lot of new and useful information. Next up, we have a quote from Dave Dorman, illustrator for Star Wars, from Dark Horse Comics. The independent and small press markets are very valuable to the newcomer as a source for seeing their work in print, giving the freelancer an opportunity to see the strengths and weaknesses of their work and improve on it, more considering approaching the big publishers. Small presses can also provide an opportunity to do creator-owned materials. You could think of the small business as a sort of testing ground. And that's Dave Dorman, the illustrator for Star Wars, the Dark Horse comic series. Not the movies. And again, this is from 1998, so it's then, not now. Next section, a look at the industry. From a professional standpoint, we're very fortunate to have such a wide and diverse comic market in which to work. For a freelancer, there is a broad source of publishing houses to choose from, adding variety and generating a satisfying degree of competitiveness. As of November 1997, there were more than 140 different companies actively soliciting published material. Of those publishers, about 20 were well known, and a substantial number were self-publishers. Of the better-known companies, the top 4 publishers are, in alphabetical order, DC Comics, Dark Horse Comics, Image Comics, and Marvel Comics. Within a range of publishers, there is a massive degree of diversity. Although many newcomers frequently associate comics with superheroes, subject matter also includes horror, cutting-edge or alternative, movie licensed characters, westerns, war stories, classic literature, novel adaptations, funny animals, erotica, and an infinite number of combinations and permutations of these and other subjects. You will also find many different types of comics, including the regular series, limited series, one-shots, graphic novels, illustrated story albums, anthologies, collected works, and experimental formats. There are as many styles of comics as there are subjects and types. There are color comics, black-coded, painted, and color-coded, computer-coded, blah, blah, blah. Computer-colored, which is what like. And there are black and white comics. Artwork and writing can be mainstream, design-oriented, stylistic, impressionistic, cartoony, or even caricature-like. And within each publishing house, within each comic line, and within each series or graphic novel, any and all of these characteristics can change. In any given month, there is an average of about 2,500 different comics and comic-related products for sale. This includes comics, books, magazines, cards, toys, games, posters, prints, and t-shirts, to name a few. Seem overwhelming? Well, it is. Not just for you as an eager newcomer, but even for the established professionals currently working in the industry. Next section, where to begin? Presumably you have already taken a stab at producing some sort of sample or work. Either you have had classes and are producing material for scholastic requirements and homework, or you've been working on your own, practicing. With your samples in hand, you are ready to start. Where to begin? Who should you approach with your beloved work? Many newcomers look at the market and see only the big, high-profile companies. But it's important to know a few things before you approach a potential publisher. You need to decide if that publisher is willing to publish you, and if they can offer you more than just getting published. Established pros are always hearing, "I've always wanted to write and draw, fill in the blank with the comic book character of your choice." These naive newcomers are certain that just appearing in an editor's office or confronting a professional at a convention or store appearance with samples in hand will guarantee that they're discovered. Zzz. I'm sorry, that answer is incorrect. In actuality, any unsolicited appearance or putting an editor professional on the spot is more likely to gain their chagrin, particularly if the aspiring newcomer fails to follow acceptable form and procedure or if their work is unpolished. And especially if, in combination with those things, the newcomer is an unproven commodity. An unproven commodity simply means that the publishers generally want a recognizable name, an established or fan favorite professional to help sell their books. Now, that's not a bad thing, and it's not exclusively the case. But publishing, as we've already said, is a highly competitive business. The top guns are fiercely competing with each other for market share. So anything that will help draw attention to a new book means more sales and a bigger share. That often means using a name. So, just how does a professional become a name? Aw, thank you, Mr. Tai. Well, it varies from case to case and depends upon when the professional got into the business. The way things were done 20 years ago contrasts dramatically with what is now accepted form. Many of our new professionals got their break by working hard as assistants to established pros, as in my case, a variation of schooling and on-the-job training. Others started in production or editorial departments and worked their way up. However, not everyone lives in the city of a publisher or working pro. The very nature of our business allows for professionals to live wherever they choose and send in their work. Oh, I lost my coffee. Ah! I sipped coffee and I lost it. All right, doesn't matter. Next section, the small press. So given the above-mentioned limitations, how does one get started? That's where the small press comes in. Many professionals will gladly tell you that almost nobody starts at the top. Like anything else in life, there are exceptions to every rule, but very few of these in our own beloved industry. You'll find you're going to have... You cannot have cereal before lunch. It is almost lunchtime, and I will make you a tasty treat, okay? So you gotta be patient. Alright? Bunny! Are you turning me into a bunny? You're silly. I'm gonna finish reading this, okay? Alright, you got a few more minutes with your show. Like anything else in life, there are exceptions to every rule, but very few of those in our own beloved industry. You'll find you're going to have to start humbly and work your way up. For many folks, humbly means the mailroom at the publisher of your choice. Well, that's all well and good if you're interested in handling mail, or if you've already... No, I'm not going to turn it up, Joji. I only have a few more things to do, okay? Alright, just be happy, okay? Well, that's all well and good if you're interested in handling mail or if you've already happened to live in that publisher's city. However, what humbly means here is a willingness to start small and work your way up. Starting small in the comic industry means that sometimes the opportunity to be published by a lesser-known company can provide you with both exposure and an opportunity to hone your skills while your work is published. On the 140-plus publishers in our industry, about 80% are small or independent companies. Some got started as vanity presses. I have a comic I want to publish and no one else wants it, so I'll do it myself. Some are offshoots of large companies. We are pleased to introduce our alternative comics live. Some are foreign presses. Those Americans have no taste in comics. Let's show them what real comic art looks like and make some bucks. And some handle only reprint material. Well, we've got all these great lame books from years ago. Let's sell them to this new audience. And some are just pop. I inherited Swindled Borrowed all this money, so I think I'll publish comics. Whatever the reason for their existence, what they represent is a fertile publishing market and a great selection of publishers to choose from. Oh, we got another quote. This is from Chris Ohm, co-founder of Main Brain Productions, writer, former editor-in-chief for Malibu Comics. Don't try to break into the business at the very top of the industry, at the very top page rates. Try to find an independent publisher or someone who is willing to take a chance on you, even if it means you won't make big bucks. A published credit is among the most important things you can acquire to use as a sample to get work. And again, that's Chris Ohm, co-founder of Main Brain Productions, writer, former editor-in-chief for Malibu Comics. For an unproven newcomer still honing his skills, this is very, very good. These publishers are generally working with a much smaller budget than the big guys. This means they generally can afford to hire a name or many names. From an economic viewpoint, that's not great news for an inspiring and probably starving professional, but grit your teeth. With a bit of economic sacrifice, these smaller publishers can afford a proving ground, exposure to the industry, and, best of all, sample tear sheets. On the other hand, many professionals have nothing but glowing words about their economic arrangements with independents. Some of these independent publishers offer attractive alternative financial agreements, including a share of profits and substantial royalties instead of upfront page rates. And best of all, character rights, something the big guys rarely offer, and most assuredly not to an unproven newcomer. The type of financial agreement you can live with, whether exposure through publishing with that company will benefit you, how badly you want to keep the rights to characters you create, and just how desperately you want to be published, should dictate which publishers you approach. Some of the better-known independent companies include Antarctic Press, Caliber Comics, Chaos Comics, Dark Horse Comics, Kitchen Sink Press, Sirius Entertainment, S-I-R-I-U-S, and Slave Labor Graphics. There is much variation in their handling of creators, both in terms of rights and financial arrangements. And there is in the types of material they publish. It is up to you, as an aspiring professional, to inquire about each company's offers, should you choose to approach them for work. The type of material or genre published by each company also varies. The two most recognized companies, Marvel and DC Comics, tend toward a lineup of popular superhero material. That's not to say these companies avoid different types of material. However, they tend to publish alternative works under a different bannerhead. For example, Legends for Dark Horse, and Vertigo and Piranha Press for DC Comics. These lines tend to follow the company policy in terms of financial arrangements, but sometimes offer more attractive creator rights agreements. The other companies are independents publish products that range from conventional superhero to extremely experimental, cutting-edge material. Frequently, this variation from the superhero genre is what most appeals to a newcomer. We got a quote that's cut off. This one is from Frank Kurtz, editor, artist, writer for Laughing Reindeer Press. Don't limit yourself. Don't feel you have to do traditional superhero books. I think the greatest stuff that's ever been done in comics has been brought on the creator's enthusiasm for the subject matter. Now, there have been great superhero comics, and people love that stuff, but great humor, adventure, and even romance is valuable work. There's Carl Banks, as well as Jeff Smith. For superhero stuff, you've got C.C. Beck and Mike Allred. Clive Barker does horror. There's a guy that's very enthusiastic about everything he works on. I think you should be doing what you like to do because the market is always changing. I like to be optimistic, and I hope diversity will win out to me. Frank Kurtz, editor, artist, writer for Laughing Reindeer. Next section. Now, what do I do? With all this information about money, exposure, and genre in mind, you should carefully examine the material published by each company. Spend some time in your own local comic stores. Don't stick to one shop, but look around. The store owners are fans just like you, and they have a tendency to order material they prefer, or only titles that are guaranteed hot sellers. If you check across a couple of shops, you're bound to see a wider selection of books. You'll get a much better idea of what's out there and with whom you'd like to do business. Do not just look either. Ask questions. Most comic shop owners are glad to answer questions, and many are very knowledgeable about the business. Also, ask if you can look at the catalogs of their distributors. Distributing companies handle the products produced by the publishers. They are the direct contact between the publishers and the stores. They are responsible for providing order forms, processing the orders, and shipping the product. Their catalogs, often called order books or solicitations, list all of the material that is to be printed by every publisher for the next sales period. There is often a description of the books and sometimes some artwork samples. These catalogs can provide some very useful research information if your local store doesn't order from the more obscure companies. Check out the comic industry trade publications too. Our industry plays a host to a variety of comics news sources, some of which include the well-known weekly papers, the Comics Buyer's Guide, and the Comic Shop News, and the monthlies, Wizard, A Guide to Comics, Comic Scene Magazine, and Combo Magazine. Each of these publications offers a unique perspective on a variety of areas in the industry, including a good look at what's new from the various publishers. To be a knowledgeable professional, it is in your best interest to read at least a couple of these trade publications regularly. At this point, you may want to create a record of the information on respective publishers. This can take the form of a notebook or card file. Just jot down a few pieces of pertinent information about the specific publishers that interest you. Note the company name and address. List some information about the products, the genre they tend to publish, the style of the product, black and white versus color, monthly versus miniseries, comics versus graphic novels, the recognizability of talent, i.e., who do they tend to use for names, etc., ownership of the rights to the characters listed in the Indicia? I-N-D-I-C-I. I don't know. The average cost of their books, and any other information you think would be important in deciding whether that publisher would be interested in your work. Let me just... Alright, we got one more section. Whew, that's good, and then I can find my coffee. Last section. You're ready to get started. Now you're armed with valuable information about your potential employers, and you've gotten a truly professional start on your career since you've done some research. You know who is publishing material similar to what you have to offer, the caliber of work they're publishing, and types of professionals they hire. If you're interested in working on superhero books, you now have a record of whom to contact. If you want to pursue a character you've created, but don't want to give up your rights, you know which publishers honor creator rights. Your next step is to send out requests for submission guidelines. Submission guidelines are written guides produced by the individual publishers which detail the manner and format in which a publisher will consider unsolicited material. Many publishers will not even consider new material unless the samples follow the company's guidelines for new submissions. Some companies don't have a structured set of guidelines, so just ask for the editor of new submissions. This way you follow the most efficient company format, and your sample won't sit on a desk at the bottom of somebody's to-do pile. You can obtain submissions guidelines in one of two ways: via publisher website on the internet or through the mail. Many major comic publishers now provide their submission guidelines as a page on the company's website. through use of a search engine. Oh my gosh. This is my favorite part of this. Okay. I'm fine. I can do this. Through use of a search, I can't. I'm fine. I can do this. I only have like 2 more paragraphs to read. Through use of a search engine, searching for a specific publisher by name, you can find these websites, which are growing in popularity. As more publishers recognize the economic benefits of providing this information online, more companies will be accessible through the internet. A list of URLs, internet addresses, for some major publishers, which is included in Appendix C. Stop. Obey. I know you don't want this to be. To get the guideline through the mail, here's what you do. Write a written request in a business-like manner for a copy of the submission guidelines. Always include a self-addressed stamped envelope, SASE, for the reply. The SASE is more than a courtesy. Remember, publishers get hundreds of inquiries, so if you expect to receive a reply, include an SASE to set yourself apart as a true professional. When the guidelines arrive, add the information to your record on the company. This way you'll have a log of information to draw on when making your actual submissions, and a way to keep track of whom you've contacted, how you've contacted them, and what the response was. That's the first step in establishing yourself in the industry, investigating and researching who you think are the best publishers to approach. All of this should be done long before you consider personally approaching a potential employer, and will help you prepare for setting your best and most impressive foot forward. We're going to finish up with another quote from Chris Ulm. Keep your day job. This may sound harsh, but don't give up your entire life just because you want to follow a dream of working in comics. Chris Ulm. That's it for the introduction. This is from, again, 1998. Technology in the world has moved on. A lot of the publishers, not a lot of publishers. There are new publishers. All the stats have changed since then. A lot of self-publishers. You can just self-publish yourself. There's print on demand. There are so many things that are not useful from this book, but there's so many things that are. If you want to work with a publisher, you need to do your research. You need to make sure that you have something that they want to sell, and among other things. There's lots of nuggets, knowledge nuggets in here. If you have the time, or if you want to fight people, go ahead and do so. I'd love to see it, so if you don't mind responding in the tweet on the Tweeterverse, or even commenting on this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear about the things that you have learned, that you like and enjoyed from this introduction, things that you find hilarious. I just couldn't. It's really, when she was like, this is how you use a search engine, I just can't. My life. URLs. My gosh. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'm very grateful that you found the time to sit down and listen to me struggle through reading. I'm going to go because I got other stuff to do, as you do too. And some of that should be making a comic. So if I find time, I'll do this again. We'll read chapter 1. So